in kind of like the thick of it, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like the end of the main course-ish.
Yes.
Yep, starting off with the storms, storms, snakes, and now we're here in the
smoke.
In the smoke. Tell me about the smoke, bro.
Yeah, this chapter 8 was the hardest to write. And I think, it was, I don't know, it's hard meaning like, I felt like it could have been its own book. There was just so much stuff God was pouring into my heart. I was experiencing, I was learning, I was just, I guess, revelations that were coming just of what I was discovering about the smoke was just like mind blowing. And so in the book, in the chapter, it is really practical, kind of identify what it is, what category it is with battling adversity. Very important, but it's the mirror of your challenges. It's the one where you got to look at yourself versus outside trying to solve things. You're kind of looking in. And when you do that, man, it can get deep. Just looking at things beyond the surface of things and really being honest with yourself. So just the revelation in the process of, seeking God and trying to understand what God was revealing. And it was just like, it was like endless, man. It was like so deep of like, it was beyond just business ownership challenge solving. It was to the level of recognizing the depth of our salvation and is it really even there? It was just, it's a deep subject. So I'm excited to get behind the scenes of the stuff you won't even find in the book. But the book is very important because it is from a business owner speaking to you and how important it is to recognize when this is kind of derailing you, right? And then how to get back on course. There's a scripture that I'll start with, and then we'll reference this throughout this author's cut. It's in Matthew. Basically, it talks about if your eyes are healthy or if they're unhealthy, And so if the light in you is darkness, how deep is that darkness? And that really spoke to me. Basically, it says, if what you believe is right is actually wrong, how deep is that wrong? Because you don't even know it's wrong.
Oh, come on.
You see what I'm saying? And so that really spoke to me because if you're walking down a path where you think you're going the right way, but it's a false sense of light, how deep is that darkness? It's like, that's scary because it means you don't know. It's one thing to know and make a decision. I know this is not the right path, but I'm going. But to not know and think you're going on the right path,
it's
you know
dangerous.
What I'm saying? That's dangerous. So I wanted the Lord to really speak into that business, life, husband, personally, like, what is this? Let's unpack that, God. Like, what is that? And so, what I think of, and this is what I wrote in the book, just to give some, but driving down the road at night, right? You got your headlights, you can see, but what happens when there's a fog? You know what I mean? And I've been in those situations that you're trying to conquer the darkness with light. So boom, you can see. You turn on the light, you're good, right? But what if there's fog when you're driving at night?
Still hazy.
The light doesn't do anything. And so, it was just a visual that helped me understand, like, you don't really know where you're going if you have fog in front of your windshield, right? You got to kind of tap into another GPS or trying to figure out, like, where am I actually going? So, historically, there's a term called the smoke screen. Yeah, and I'll just kind of share into that. And so in Germany, it was the Battle of Normandy, against the British, where the smoke screen really took surface of like a military tactic. And they would actually, you see it in movies like the be army military dudes coming into a room that throw a little grenade that shoots smoke and then they come in, right? But see, what happened was these tanks, they wanted to hide themselves coming in for a military approach to attack the British. And so they put out these smoke bombs and you couldn't see the tanks. But from the vantage point of where the British were standing, they were like, oh, enemies coming. Like, oh, I know exactly where they're at, like, what's that smoke? And so it backfired on them, and the enemy, or I don't know who was the enemy or who was, the offense or defense, but British military was able to succeed that battle because the smoke screen gave off where the German tanks were. And so they defeated them. And so that made me think of, like, us personally, man, when we are going down a path that our that is blocked by the fog or the smoke, let's say, or the smoke screen. We feel like we're being, we're going down the right path, but actually we've opened ourselves in our vulnerability to the enemy. We don't even realize it. And that's what it's like. Oh, like you're walking in the smoke down the wrong path. You think it's the right path, but you're open game. Like the enemy's thinking, man, you're open game. I can just attack you like crazy. And you don't even know like where you're at. And so what I was recognizing is that, okay, what is this smoke? Like, how does it happen in real life? Like what can cause us to think we're in this light?
Yeah.
Right? And walking and thinking we're a correct path, but we're actually derailed in the wrong path, and we're just open game for the enemy to attack us. And we don't even know it, And so like, what is that? Now I'm like super interested, and that's what really opened up the can of worms, man. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be this guy. I don't want to be this guy. Cause there's a lot of pastors right now, Ray, like they're leading churches. They're leading with messages. Everything looks good on the surface.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. And I got to be honest with myself. Okay. If I'm pushing, I'm doing what I'm doing with this book. Am I doing all this stuff, trying to push a message of the Lord? It could look like light, but it could be if that light in you is darkness, how deep is that darkness? It could be a false sense of, projection. And so I was like, what is that?
Yeah. I just got small kind chills because to speak about or to push something that you think is true and it could potentially be false, that's scary.
Super scary
because I don't want to be in that position. I don't think anyone wants to be in that position.
No, man. And it's so I prayed really hard and spent a lot of time in this chapter to unpack, to really know, okay, what is this? Like what's happening to people? What's happened to me? What is this thing? And I don't want to be in it.
Yeah.
I want a true sense. I want my eyes to be healthy, like the scripture Matthew says, not unhealthy. Yeah. Unhealthy eyes means what? You have a hard time seeing.
Yeah, that's me.
Right? And so unhealthy eyes. And so that's where the smoke comes in. There's another scripture in Revelation that why I even call it smoke now.
Yeah.
It was that, God sent, there's a furnace that he sent and set fire, and it let loose the smoke out. And the smoke was so powerful that it got in front of the sun and you couldn't see.
Yeah.
And so that imagery just kind of made me feel like, okay, there's a fire that started in the furnace, smoke rose and got in front of the sun and blocked all the light.
Yeah.
And nobody could see. And so that made me think of that process of like, okay, I've been through 2 house fires. I understand that, there has to be something that starts a fire.
For sure.
And if there's a fire that starts, what always comes from the fire? Smoke. And smoke, if you have a house fire, up in the sky, you see tons of smoke.
It's an indicator.
It's a flag saying there's a fire. And so if smoke, now I'm thinking, okay, if something's smoking me, smoke screening me, where's that fire? What is the fire? Where did I start it? So now I'm like thinking practically, right? I'm thinking, okay, let's unpack, like where are these little fires coming from that could start these things? And so now it's like reverse engineering. I'm looking, from the smoke, trying to look back in deep and dig and try to find, okay, what is going on here in this smoke? So that's where this all started birthing from, right? It was just like, okay, I don't want to be this guy. There's an issue, right? I don't want to be this guy. And God's given me this vision, or I don't want to say vision, but imagery of smoke kind of representing the blocking of light and then like a fire. So I just started digging that way to kind of figure out like what this thing is.